Welcome to the CSA AI Summit. My name is Swamy Kocherlakota. I'm working for a company called Zscaler that many of you are familiar with. I'm responsible for delivering AI security engineering. I'm very happy to be here. I want to cover a couple of topics today. I was a career CIO and I have been through many transformations. I want to give you my perspective around this new AI and all the buzz around the AI to see how leaders like you can transform your organizations and sharing with you some of the recipes that I think were successful and then see how we can say the role of zero trust in that transformational process. Zscaler is a public company. It has been around for 15 plus years, and 50 million users are in the Zscaler platform. It's a credible company, and one of the things that we are proud of is the NPS scores. And from a revenue perspective, it's about 3.2 billion ARR. So a proven company and in a very key emerging space of cybersecurity and AI. My talk today talks about the new era of computing. AI is everywhere. I'll talk about that, some of the things that you are familiar with. But of course, reaching this maturity of AI and getting to the potential is not a clear straight line. It is not linear. There are a lot of challenges, and challenges are opportunities. And it's opportunities for you, opportunities for the industry, and opportunities for partnerships like you and we are going to have. And AI is a spectrum. We'll talk about that spectrum and we'll talk about some of the zero trust principles and how, as you're thinking about transforming, what is the role of security in the transformation to do AI right as opposed to getting caught by the buzz. Everybody knows that AI is here. There are lots of statistics that we all can quote. 40% of the enterprise applications will have AI agents by the end of 2026. And 40% of the job roles within the global 2000 companies are expected to actively collaborate with AI agents. This whole notion around digital co-workers. It's an important thing. Now, this is a transformative technology. And whether you're calling this as the third wave or the fifth wave, at the end of the day, this is very transformational. And when you think about transformational activities, you have to compare them to what was some of the things that happened in the past. So let me give a couple of examples. When the original innovation of compute came in, the means for realizing the value for that compute layer was the operating systems and applications. And back then, 30, 40 years ago, the outcome, the business outcome was digitization. Take everything that you have in paper and convert and digitize. And we have seen a lot of CIOs and CISOs drive that era of digital transformation. But the means was operating system and apps, but the innovation was in compute. But if you look at the second wave, the internet, the means for that was web infrastructure. We are all familiar with those web applications that came in, but the business outcome was e-commerce. And at the same time, when the mobility revolution came in, the means was app stores and apps. And the outcome from that mobility economy was the gig economy. Many people are now working and making a living out of the gig economy. And that was the economic outcome from that wave of computing. When it comes to AI, the means is agents. And what is the outcome? While the outcome is to be determined, we believe that it is going to be a value economy. In other words, you cannot take creating value for granted because switching to conversational interfaces is a lot more easier than switching from those complex UI that you believe is the sticking point for your customers. So value economy and continuous differentiation becomes a key thing in this new wave of computing. And of course, you are familiar with this transformation, and some of you drove that transformation. But let's look at some of the recent things that a lot of the enterprises have to deal with. And I remember very vividly when the cloud came in, The mantra that I used to have is if you're trying to transform, you have to first simplify. And a lot of CIOs focused a lot of their time with architecture on simplifying, standardizing, and you virtualize your infrastructure, you cloud enable it, and of course, later you become a AI cloud native company by containerizing, right? And from a people perspective, you had to transform into agile development processes, and you need to have DevSecOps, and of course, there's a new talent that came in called as SREs, right? So that's the transformation that you all have seen with cloud. But this particular pattern continues. But what is the equivalent recipe for you as the leader to transform your enterprise into a agentic AI ready enterprise? Includes three or four layers in my mind. The first one is data. Much like you had during the cloud and infrastructure, you had to simplify, standardize. You have to really understand your data, the data access patterns that you have, and how are you dealing with your pipeline of data, and how do you really virtualize and enable so that the data can move fast through your enterprise? Because there is no AI without the data. And then CEOs and the CFOs are under tremendous pressure from the street around creating productivity. And in order for you to create productivity, you have to understand process and what are the opportunities to transform that processes into agentic economy. If you were to do it 20 years ago, you would hire a big tier consulting company to do the time and motion studies. You don't need to do that anymore because you can use AI to look at your process and look at your task and process mining to see what elements of it you can transform with AI and agents. And of course, the next one is apps. How do you really make them conversational? You may have a UI before, you may have a backend before if you're in the first era still, but you have to make sure that your apps are conversational not only to the users but also have the conversational technologies in the back end. So if you are a CIO or a leader or a CISO, you have to transform your enterprise through these three layers. And of course, one of the important component is people. There are two ways you can address the people component. One is through top down, by appointing a chief AI officer, building an AI council. And most AI councils that I'm familiar with, they have not only the chief information officer or a technology officer, but it also has a chief AI officer, chief CISO, security officer, chief risk officer, and auditor, and even chief legal officers. It's an important thing to make sure that you have an AI council that is doing top down to cover all elements of this opportunity and the risks that come with AI. And of course, from a bottom up perspective, you have to worry about the culture and mindset of your employees and the relevance and importance of training. If you do this right and then have the right business model transformation that you see, you're going to take your enterprise to the next level. And many of you have done this before. But when it comes to agents, there is a spectrum. If you ask anybody who's a pure play what agent is, if anybody is acting on my behalf, it is an agent. But when it comes to technology, there's a big range of this what agents is. You could have retrieval based agents, you could have task execution, one specific task. They can be guided where you still have human in the loop, but then eventually maturing to autonomous and orchestrated AI. And that's where the era of enterprise is moving to. The vision that I see 5 to 10 years from now, employees are assisted by agents and agents are interacting with each other. The way to determine a AI native company is how many of the activities are being done by inter-agent communication, going beyond the human and the agent communication that we're beginning to see today. And that's the nirvana that we're going to go to. But if we know that that's the enterprise, you have to make sure that you are building security. For many times, security is always an afterthought. The importance of AI and some of the foundational principles that we have that are proven be zero trust, you as a leader can say that, look, I will enable my employees and my customers, but I'm going to make sure that I always verify. Never trust, but verify. And that's why you need a partner that has the backing to be able to deploy zero trust principles. and with the least privilege access and policy based communication. Now, at Zscaler, we have a strategy to help our customers. Number one, you as a CIO, if your board asks you, what is the level of AI adoption today? You have to scramble, going to multiple groups and say, what is my usage here? What is my usage there? But from a Zscaler perspective, we are providing the CIOs and CISOs the visibility of the AI assets in the environment. We are uniquely positioned to be able to give you that view because we see on your behalf, based on the technology that we deployed, we will give you the opportunity to see your assets in a holistic way. Not just the activity of what your employees are doing on the internet and third party applications, but from a source code perspective, what type of a code is being written with MCP. We could provide that asset discovery. When once you do discovery, the second thing is how do you really secure them? That way you can say, hey, these are the authorized applications, these are the authorized LLMs, these are the authorized MCPs. And by the way, this is the identity that we would want to standardize. And then the third phase is now that you have access and visibility, you now will be able to say, how do I tighten the access? These are the three pillars for our strategy. And if you are a leader in your enterprise, and would love to transform your company in a secure way to this agentic era, we are really looking forward to helping you with these three pillars, beginning with the discovery and then tightening up in the end. And that to me is an important element as a CIO. And of course, transforming this requires some prerequisites. If you already have a zero trust partner like Zscaler, you have to make sure that they have a platform that's a true platform that can extend to data security and also extend to AI security. And that's an important element for your partner. And you need a company like Zscaler whose mission is to secure, simplify, and transform. At the same time, have an architecture that is scalable. And also, this should not break your bank, making sure that you're able to do this without going back to the business with huge funding asks is an important element because we can help you find the ROI on how to protect the AI without breaking the bank. This is a great way to take your technology and your company to the next level by partnering with a provider and building AI and driving to this new era of computing and drive value to your business and to your customers. With that, thank you very much for taking the time. Please reach out to your account representative if you're already a Zscaler customer. And if you're not, we would love to talk to you. Please check out zscaler.com. Once again, thank you for joining me. Happy transformation.